Hello and welcome back. This is video number 5, and in this video we're going to talk about the body text structure. Basically, what should you put in your content, and as you're writing your posts and your pages, how should you optimize it? So what you write on your blog post and page should be first and foremost definitely human friendly, and then of course secondly search engine friendly. See, a lot of people make the mistakes of trying to game the system, trying to make it so search engine friendly that they totally forget about who they are writing to. Now, Google at the end of the day really cares about bounce rate, and bounce rate, which we'll talk about later down the road, is basically if somebody stays on your page for a long period of time. If they just come to your page and they leave immediately and Google sees that, that's not a good sign. In fact, if they go to Google and they type in, let's say, for example, survival kit, and they go to your page and they don't like what they see, and then of course they go back to Google, Google knows that they just left your page, and that's not a good sign. And that will actually hurt your ranking. So if you merely write for the search engines, you're going to have to deal with the bounce rate, a high bounce rate, a low stick rate. Stick rate meaning how long do they stay or how long do they stick around? And that will have a negative impact on you. So what that means is the longer someone stays on your website, the lower your bounce rate is. So if you keep that in your mind, the word bounce rate, the word stick rate, you will often see those words a lot when it comes to on-page optimization or even search engine optimization in general. So to Google, websites with a lower bounce rate must be good. The fact that people are staying on your page for a longer period of time tells them, okay, this website must be what people are searching for, right? And this is important to Google and other search engines, as it also indirectly tells them that your site must have good content. And then they're going to rank you higher. So that's just one of the many, many different factors that you're going to deal with. And that said, let's discuss some elements that you need to have in your body text. You definitely want to stick to one main keyword. And you want to have that main keyword definitely in the title of your page and throughout your page. So that keyword should be the same one in the URL structure for that post or your page. Now I'm going to show you in a minute. If we hop on over to WordPress, you can name it the title, and if everything is set up correctly, the permalink or the URL structure should have that keyword, and that keyword should be spread about. Now, you definitely don't want to make it appear too many times, otherwise that will be seen as keyword stuffing. So it should appear, like I said, in the page in headings 1 and 2, which will be in the body text. And I'll give you an example later down the road when we show it to you live in action. And it should be somewhere in the first paragraph as well. It should be bold or italicized. Now, don't overdo it. There are actually ways to get around doing this and make it look natural. You got to remember, you're writing first and foremost for the human being first. So when you put it in your text, you got to make sure that it is going to make sense to the human being. And you want to try to use variations of your keywords as well. So let's say, for example, let's use the example that we talked about earlier in the URL structure video, which was red shoes. So you want to try to use variations of the keyword or even synonyms. So Google at least is smart enough. They have this huge database of words that are related. So as far as the body text and the other factors, what I'm going to do is stick with the exact same post that we looked at in the previous video with the URL structure. So up at the top, if we say that our main keyword is maybe find credible freelancers or places to find, maybe that's our keyword, places to find credible freelancers, then what we want to do is we want to make sure that it's in the heading 1 and 2, So we could take that and we could put it here and we could highlight that. And then under this drop box here, we want to do heading 1. So that would be the heading. And then you want to make sure that it's heading 2, but we can do that later. So you want to make sure that it is in the first paragraph. So it says, are you looking to outsource some of your work so that you can focus on your business better? Finding the right person can be difficult, but there are places online where you can search for credible freelancers. So places to find, we could say, so let's discuss places to find credible freelancers. So obviously the first letters are capitalized. So I want to make sure that it's human friendly. So we say, so let's discuss places to find credible freelancers. And then you can highlight that. So places to find credible freelancers. So this can be italicized. This can be bolded like that. All right. So that needs to be in the first paragraph. You can also have it later down the road as a heading 1. And if we scroll down, we don't have an image right now, but we'll talk about that later. We'll find an image and I'll show you how to add an alt tag. You want to do that. You want to go through and you want to create variations of this keyword. So places to find credible freelancers, Fiverr.com. This is a good place to find great freelancers. So we use the word credible. You can mix it up and say good place to find great freelancers or hardworking freelancers. So what I'm saying here is you don't necessarily have to use that exact match keyword, but you're using variations so that Google knows that you're not trying to game the system and you're not trying to keyword stuff. But at the same time that it's a variation or it's a similar synonym or word so that it appears more natural. So we can go through here, we can do other things as well. That's pretty much the basics of it. But another thing you can do is tags as well. So you can add tags. Let's move on to the next video. Hello and welcome to video number 6. And we're going to talk about image optimization, or in other words, how to make your images more search engine friendly. You see, when it comes to images, you need to tell the search engines what the images are. They're not really going to know off the bat what the images are. Now, there are ways that Google can figure out what the images are, which we'll talk about in just a second. Now, while Google and other search engines will one day be smart enough to be able to figure out what images are, right now you need to help them out just a little bit, get them a kickstart that they need. So you're going to need to take your main keyword or variations of the main keyword or even specific keywords based on the main keyword and insert them into the alt tags in your images. If you don't know what those are right now, don't worry about it. We're going to show you in just a minute. Now, what I recommend that you do is, let's say, for example, that you have 3 images on your page. In fact, the more images, the better. You don't want to get too much, but the more images, the better. And what I recommend is the first image that you have, you're going to want to put the main keyword in there. Now, make sure that it actually relates to the image itself. So if the image is a image of a shoe, you definitely don't want to put like something like a peanut butter sandwich or something. So you definitely want to put something that's related, right? Now, the second keyword, you don't want to put the same keyword. You want to put a variation of that keyword. Or based on what we talked about earlier, having the main keyword and then of course having keywords related to that keyword, you can put those in the other images. But you have enough where Google looks at it and thinks, okay, all these images are related. Now, there are other ways that Google can figure out if those are legit. In fact, what they'll do is they'll index them into the Google image search engine. So whenever somebody searches for that image and they click on that image, they will think, okay, those images on your page are definitely legit, so we're going to rank you higher, right? So that is why making sure that your keywords and your images fit and they're accurate enough, but you don't want to overdo it in any other area. But one or two should be good, three or four should be fine, but you definitely don't want to overdo it. Now, like I said, more images with variations of the keyword are even better. So if we are focusing specifically on red shoes as the post, maybe a specific brand name of shoes, you might want to put the brand name. Might want to put like the brand name plus red shoes. You might want to put shoes red or red, something that's a synonym of shoes. So to make more sense, let me show you what you need to do, and I'll give you some more tips along the way. Okay, so adding images and making them search engine friendly is actually very easy to do. But first things first, you'll need to find an image if you don't already have one. So starting where we left off in the previous video, we don't have any images here, but let's just go ahead and add one. So I'm going to add one somewhere in the beginning. So we could add an image, let's say here. Now I want to say we do have an image, like a featured image down here. But what we're talking about are images within the actual body text. So let's go ahead and click on Add Media here. And these are our existing images right here, but we can also upload a file here as well. So let's try to find something that relates to freelancers. So let's do that here. Let's click that. So right here it says title, caption, alt text, and description. Now, by default, as you can see here, with an image, it shows something like code. It doesn't look natural. It doesn't tell a human being what it is, and it doesn't tell Google what it is. Now, beyond just some basic optimization, you have to realize that if somebody is disabled and somebody is listening to some sort of software that speaks out loud what the images are on the page, then this is actually going to help you reach those people. So keep that in mind as well. And by making it friendly to all sorts of people, you'll get an extra vote with Google in that sense as well. So let's say, for example, that this is something to do with places to find credible freelancers. So all you need to do is simply put that in the alt text. Now, for the title, you want to do something similar. You can do top 10 places to find credible freelancers. Now, bear in mind that these images might show up in the Google image search engine. And if they do, this information will show up. So if somebody is utilizing the image search engine, which a lot of people do, then they're going to see that. And if your competitors are merely just uploading the images and they're not optimizing it for the alt tags and the titles and the descriptions and all that, you're going to be one step ahead. All right. So caption can be, this image shows a screenshot of the top 10. So we could do a variation of 10. So 10 as in TEN places to find great freelancers. So you want to mix and match and keep it different so that it doesn't look like you're keyword stuffing. And then of course you can put the description here. So when you're ready, click on Insert into Post, and there we go. Now you can always edit that later. If you click on the image here and click on Edit, you can always edit the alternative text. So the alt text, you definitely want that keyword in there. You could put the keyword in here in the captions as well if you want to. So we're going to click on X because I didn't do any updates. And of course you can add other images as well throughout the page, but make sure first and foremost, it is human friendly. And then based on that, you can create variations of the keyword. And of course, when you're ready, go ahead and click update. Hello and welcome to video number 7. Let's jump right in. So we're going to talk about title optimization. So this is extremely important because it's often the first thing that people will see as they are searching the internet. So if you imagine you go to google.com and you type in a keyword, whatever that is, And you're going to see the titles, and then you're going to see the descriptions of each and every single website. Or with YouTube, you're going to see the titles, the descriptions, and of course the image. So based on the media in general, they're all going to have titles. So having the right titles is important. So like I said, this is really extremely important because that's the first thing that they're going to see. And you're going to want to make sure that you're ranking on the keyword that is in the title. And then of course, when they get to the page, you want to make sure that the content fits the title. So you want to be congruent all the way. The more that you're congruent, they're going to get what they typed in. They're going to trust you, and then they're likely to take action if that is the case. So this needs to be set for all of your posts or your pages. And you really need to think clearly and carefully about this, because we have seen in a lot of cases where people just name it, whatever comes to their mind. And what ends up happening is you work so hard to create the content and you attract the wrong person, and they come to your post or page, and you wonder why nobody is taking action, right? So this is the exact same keyword. And to make it easier for you to be congruent, if you take the keyword that's in your URL structure, that's in your title, make sure that it's in your title somewhere, because that's what your viewers are searching for. Now, sometimes people will put the keyword straight up in the beginning and they'll put the keyword dash whatever. But what I recommend that you do is put the keyword in the title, but you want to make sure that it sounds right. It's got to be human friendly first, and then of course secondary search engine friendly second. Because at the end of the day, and the way Google is moving towards long-term wise is towards engagement, more social engagement, people engagement. That is what is important to them. Because at the end of the day, if you think about it, their goal is for people to search, find what they want. So they want to make sure that they connect you to the right person. And all they really care about is, they don't really care about you. They care more about the customer, who is the person who is searching, right? So as long as you're on the top 10 of the Google search engine for that keyword, and that keyword is appearing in the title, it's highly likely that the prospect will click through your website. Now, as basic as this sounds, I want to make sure that you understand that it's important. Most of your competitors are not really going to do this. And if they are, they're going to miss something along the way, right? What we've seen over the years is sometimes they'll have the title right, they'll have the URL structure right, but when people go to the content, it just doesn't make sense. So as long as you're congruent from the keyword to the title, to the poster page, to the content itself, to the call to action, to the product, everything is congruent from that point in the beginning to the end, you're most likely gonna gain the trust of the prospect, and you're most likely gonna get the conversion. That's the most important thing. So as long as your poster pages are related, you're most likely gonna see a higher conversion rate across the board, like I said earlier. Now, as a rule of thumb, your title should be no more than 75 characters long. You don't want it to be too long, because psychologically that will actually overwhelm whoever is typing things in. And most people are just scanning, they're not reading. They're looking for what they're looking for really quick. So if you have something short, straight to the point, you're most likely going to win, as long as it's optimized and it's correct to that keyword. So now that we've talked about the fundamentals, let me go ahead and show you what you need to do to set this up properly. So we already briefly talked about the title, but this is your title, right? So a lot of times, let's say, for example, that the keyword is places to find credible freelancers. Sometimes you'll find people do something like this: places to find credible freelancers. And then of course, they'll put the keyword first and then they'll put a sentence. You can do that if you want to. There's no proof that it doesn't work, it works, or anything like that. But you definitely want to make sure that it is human friendly first and foremost. So in this case, Ours is 10 different places to find credible freelancers online. Or we could do something like top 10 places to find credible freelancers. Now, whatever you do, if you change the title here, make sure that it's changed right here as well. So if we do that and we go back over here, we just copy that in, but we need to make sure that there are dashes in between the words. So what I'm doing right now is I'm simply adding dashes in between the words. So there we go. We click OK, and that's it. So the title is crucial. Now, I'll show you later down the road where you can use 2 WordPress plugins, which you can add more data like the metadata, the description data, and all of that. But for now, by default, if you don't have those WordPress plugins, what the search engine will often do is they'll grab the title. So we'll click update, and that's it. Okay, so this is video number 8, and we're going to dive straight in and talk about meta optimization. So this is the description that is going to show up on the search engines. So just like the title optimization video beforehand, this is what people are going to see in this search engine when they search the internet for a specific keyword. So in other words, it's the description beneath the title, and you're going to need to make sure that this is set up both in your posts and your pages. And this needs to be no more than 160 characters long. So let me show you what you need to do. Okay, so we briefly talked about this before, but I'm just going to do a recap here. So we talked about the meta description being important. So for images, like I showed you with the image optimization, that's why the description is crucial, because if they're appearing in the image search engine, it will actually appear with that description and that title. Now, if you don't have a WordPress plugin that is installed, it's typically going to grab this as a title, and then the description usually is the beginning paragraph. So for congruency's sake, you want to make sure that that's why the keyword needs to be in the title, the first headline here, and the description. And you usually want to try to put the keywords down here, but you don't want to put it too much. Sometimes it will look at the how many words you have compared to how many keywords that you have. If you have too many keywords, you're going to want to add more text. If you have more keywords, you definitely want to add more images as well. So the more images, the more text that aren't really that specific keyword, the better. So by default, like I said, it's going to grab this as a description, but then as you have the WordPress plugins that we'll talk about later, you'll have the opportunity to add more metadata, which I'll show you later on. But this is sort of a video that's sort of a preliminary to discuss why the metadata is actually still used. Hello and welcome to video number 9, and congratulations, first and foremost, you've reached the end of this video course. And this is kind of a bonus because we talked about how to manually optimize your WordPress site. Now we're going to talk about how to automate the process. Now, the reason why I didn't jump straight into this was simply because you need to understand why things are important, what elements you need to have on your pages to make it important. Because yeah, you can use this system to automate it, but the 2 plugins that I'm going to talk about, some of them will actually automate certain processes like the URL structure. But at the same time, knowing how things work and why certain things are important is more important at the end of the day, because you're going to understand how to implement these factors. So now let's talk about the 2 plugins. With these 2 WordPress plugins, you can literally boost your on-page optimization on just their free levels. So they both have a free version and they both have a paid version. Now, 2 of these are very common. The first one, you'll most likely maybe already be using it. The second one is not so popular, but they actually work hand in hand. So let me go ahead and show you these plugins and why they are both important. So the two plugins are first Yoast SEO, that's YOAST.com. And if you go here, you can get a better idea of what it's all about. But this is one of the most popular SEO plugins, and this will actually help you optimize your site automatically. So now that you understand the basics, the title, the description, and all of that, a lot of times what Yoast will do is if you just create a title and you put that in the title of the WordPress post or page, you click update, it'll automatically fill in the permalink or the URL structure. So, and it'll fill out other data as well as you begin to create your post and your page. Now that's the free version. The paid version actually takes it one step further and does a lot more. Now I'm not going to cover all that in this particular video because you can go here, you can check it out for yourself. Now, if you want to figure out how to install it, it's very easy. All you have to do is go to your WordPress site here and go to add plugins under plugins, type in the word Yoast, and you'll see it right here. The second plugin is called SEO Squirrely, as you can see here. So you can do a Google on this, but if you type in SEO Squirrely, that's SEO SQUIRRLY. And if you go here, then you can actually download the plugin, and there's a free version, which is, in my opinion, we've tested it out, and the free version is really, really good. And what SEO Squirrely focuses on is schema. And schema is necessary because that's the way of the future. And it tells search engines what your site is all about and more information than that. But the short answer is it just helps optimize your site in a much better way. And now when you go to SEO Squirrely, it'll say, you know, our plugin is better than Yoast. And then of course, Yoast, sometimes you might see an article out there. I haven't seen one, but I'm sure there's a comparison, and you'll see that they're going against each other. But at the same time, you can either do Yoast or you can do SEO Squirrely. Now, what we've found is SEO Squirrely focuses on schema, like I said, and schema is just a way to make your site appear in the search engines where people will click on your link. So if you've seen, for example, the ratings, the 5-star ratings that appear in the search engine, that is based on schema. And there's a lot of other different little elements where if you've got on your page like images and videos and all that, SEO Squirrely will automatically optimize those media types on your page. And we found that we've actually tested this one and Yoast together, and they actually work hand in hand. Now, they can run into each other based on like the title and the meta description and all that, and they can conflict in that realm. But at the end of the day, you kind of need to just pick and choose which one you want to go with and just go with one. So Yoast, I can tell you, will pretty much do everything that we talked about. SEO Squirrely as well. They typically are focused on different areas. So my take on that is just install them both and just see what happens and use them both and go from there.